Are humans inherently good or bad? Debating humanity's innate goodness or badness has a favorite pastime of philosophers and scientists for centuries. The question is presented generally as follows: are humans born innately good, moral creatures who are corrupted by society, or are we innately corrupted at birth, and then our bad, immoral instincts are tempered by interacting with others? When stated thus, the issue seems like an unanswerable dilemma. Nevertheless, I will examine this issue and, with hope, go away in resolving it. I am of the opinion that humans are born neither inherently good nor bad, but rather that the moral compass of every individual depends upon their environment. To prove my point, I will refer to William Golding's novel of Lord of the Flies and psychological experiments conducted by university researchers. William Golding's novel of Lord of the Flies tends to lead towards a view of human nature that if left to our own devices, human beings would act cruelly and selfishly rather than for the benefit of a larger community. In essence, Golding's novel suggests that most people are born inherently bad. The central conflict of the story is between Jack, Ralph, and Piggy. Jack represents humanity's cruelty, violence, and lust for power. In Chapter 5, for example, Jack's response to the perceived threat of a beast is to abandon democracy in favor of violence and to resolve the threat. Bollocks to the rules. We're strong. We hunt. And if there's a beast, we'll hunt and beat and beat and beat. Jack's main antagonists, Ralph and Piggy, have a completely different opinion. They crave rules and order as a means to resolve conflict and ensure the group's survival. And thus they represent humanity's innate nobility and sense of justice. Piggy's response to the crisis is antithetical to Jack's views. What are we? Humans or animals or savages? What's grown-ups going to think? As the story progresses, Jack gains popularity and his faction attacks against Ralph. His faction is on the cusp of murdering Ralph when the children are saved and order is restored, only through the timely and inconvenient intervention of an unnamed naval officer. The thematic meaning of this tidy resolution of the plot is clear. Some outside authority, called it society, government, or whatever is needed to curb humanity's base nature. While Golding leans towards a pessimistic view of human nature, psychological experiments conducted by researchers at Yale and Harvard suggest a scientific basis for an optimistic view. The first experiment conducted by Yale researchers involved putting on a puppet show for a group of newborns. While struggling up a hill, a protagonist puppet was either helped or hindered by a supporting cast of other puppets. The researchers then monitored the baby's reaction to the puppets and concluded that babies, despite their lack of cultural conditioning, can discern the motivations of characters. They prefer characters with helping motivations rather than hindering ones. The findings of the experiment conducted on newborns were supported by the result of a second set of experiments, testing the motivations of adult subjects. They were forced to make financial decisions. The findings of this second set concluded that when subjects were forced to make snap decisions, their instinct was to act cooperatively, rather than selfishly. Moreover, the subjects tended to act selfishly only when given the time to reflect on their actions and thus rationalize a selfish mode of behavior. In other words, our gut instinct, more often than not, is to play nice with others, and thus perhaps humans are born good after all. To quote the findings from the experiment outlined in the Scientific American website, the results were striking in every single study. Faster, that is more intuitive. Decisions were associated with higher levels of cooperation, whereas slower, that is more reflective, decisions were associated with higher levels of selfishness. Goldings supports the notion that humans are born bad, and the experiments suggest the opposite. Basically, I'm stuck at square one. These works taken into account, my point of view splits the difference. While I'm unsure whether humans are born innately good or evil, I believe that outside factors or society are the most important factor in an individual's moral compass. By society, I mean key influences outside a person's individuality. So that could mean their family, their circle of friends, the media they consume, their religious background, the values of their community or nation, or a combination of all of these factors. Ultimately, whether our morality is set at birth doesn't really matter. We don't remain babies for the rest of our lives. The type of person that we grow into depends on the type of company we keep. Thank you very much.